Hello and welcome to The Content Bite, a podcast for freelancers who use their words to make money. I'm Rachel Smith, a freelance journalist, copywriter and content producer. I'm also the founder of Rachel's List, a jobs board and community for Australian writers and other creatives.
And I'm Lynne Testoni. I'm a journalist and content writer as well. Rachel and I are your weekly co-hosts, and every week we bring you all kinds of tips, tricks and some fabulous guests to help you make the most of your freelance business. I just want to give a shout out to Rounded, our sponsor, because I know for me, my quarterly BAS used to be so stressful. But I love Rounded because everything is there and so tidy, Rach.
I know, no more shoe boxes of receipts. I also really love that my accountant can log into the program remotely and help me with lodgement. Just do it without me needing to even worry about it.
That's what we love.
But best of all, if you're a gold member of Rachel's List, you can save 20% on any annual Rounded plan. Even if you've got the Rounded discount last year, you can get it this year as well.
Awesome. The show notes always have the details.
Yeah. Hey Lynne, how you going? I'm excited about today's episode because it's about Web3 and content marketing. And I love nerding out on new tech, but I'm also a bit scared. So we have a great guest to help us.
I know. I'm not really sure what Web3 is. So it's great that we have somebody who understands it and can explain it to me and our listeners, because I'm not really sure either.
I know. Well, Bec Haddad is coming on. She's going to help us get our head around it all. And she's a member of Rachel's List's Gold community. So listeners out there may have crossed paths with the lovely Bec, or you may have seen her at the Western Australian Christmas party, which happened a few months ago. I think that was quite a big deal over there. So why don't you introduce Bec and we'll get her in the hot seat?
I'd love to. So Rebecca Haddad started her career in magazines, basically like Rach and I, working at ACP's youth titles and freelancing for the likes of Cosmo and Clio before moving into travel writing. She had a stint at Virgin Australia's In-Flight Mag, and then she moved to Dubai, which is interesting, where she worked as a luxury travel journo and moved into digital marketing. She was global editor at Dubai Tourism before coming back to Australia and into an agency land as a social media manager and strategist. She now lives in Perth with her husband and 3 kids and works as a travel writer for Lonely Planet, Destination Perth, and as a digital content specialist. She also works with marketing agency The Bubble Co. and its Web3 sister agency, Take 3. Now, that's interesting because we had Renee from The Bubble Co. on a year or 2 ago, and so we can talk a little bit about that. So welcome, Bec.
Thank you both very much for having me. I'm very excited.
What a brilliant career. Oh my God. Can we, before we get into all the nerdy stuff, can we ask you about writing for Lonely Planet?
Oh, so exciting. Such a bucket list masthead to have as well. It's it's really great. I'm quite proud of having a very multi-hyphenate career. I think you can definitely have your finger in lots of different pies, really. Just, being able to be a travel writer and still enjoy a bit of digital marketing, still do traditional journalism as well, and still writing for magazines. I feel very lucky indeed.
Cool.
Oh, that's great. So, because I love hearing all about people's careers and everything. And I think one of the things we talked off air before is that you moved to Perth sort of post-pandemic, didn't you?
We did, yes, just on a whim.
They're the best moves.
They're the best moves. Honestly, where's the fun without a bit of risk, really? I think, we were just saying, the cabin fever of the pandemic, especially being on the East Coast, being in Sydney, just lockdown after lockdown, and us wanting to kind of upgrade and the housing market being what it was and all that kind of stuff. So being able to, just still being able to live the expat life, but a bit more domestically, which has been lovely, and being able to explore a different side of Australia, because there is so much to see here. Would, not even scrape the surface of all these incredible experiences right on our doorstep. So it allows us to get back into that and get back into my travel writing a bit more too. So it's been great. Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, wow. So how long have you been freelancing for?
So full-time freelancing for 6 years now. Basically, when I had my eldest, my daughter, I just went full-time freelance after that. But I think I've been sort of freelancing on and off my whole career, really, especially in those early days in magazines, just because I wanted the experience, have a few different mastheads under my belt as well. So I have been freelancing for a while, but I guess putting on my big girl pants and making it a proper business in the last 6 years. So
Yeah.
it's been lovely. And having communities like Rachel's List as well has been so great to kind of help refine business processes and practices, and being able to go out on your own and feel like, you know, a proper service-based business has been really good.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Amazing. Well, you've done like a lot of sort of lifestyle-y stuff, but now you're doing a bit more of the tech side, haven't you? So you've moved in that direction. What made you move in that direction? Are you just like a big nerd, or you've always loved tech and you just decided to pick up more of those clients?
It's interesting because I'm usually quite fearful of new technology, and it was through my work with the agencies that I work with. So I work with the Bubble Co as one of my kind of retainer agencies that I work with, and Renee is very forward thinking. She's very future focused.
She is. I remember having her on. She's quite terrifying about it all.
She is quite terrifying in the best possible way.
Yeah.
And so she kind of got started, you know, having these conversations with the team about things like cryptocurrencies and metaverses and stuff. And immediately my tinfoil hat went on, and I was like, not having a bar of this. Don't know what this is. Not a thing, not into it. But big brands are starting to play in this space, and I'm starting, you know, you can see some of the technology and the discussions happening around this stuff for yourself, and you think, oh gosh, this is something big. And it's nice to kind of feel part of this early adoption phase, because I'm able to kind of enter this space without feeling too scared about it. And hopefully our listeners feel that way as well, because if I can get my head around it, everyone can.
Oh, that's exciting. Okay, so we have to tackle it. So I really don't know what Web3 means. So how do you explain it to me in really simple terms, and how it relates to content marketing?
So, short answer, yes, it's a buzzword, but it's an important buzzword that we need to keep using for a little while. So Web3 is the third iteration of the internet. So you can divide the history of the internet into 3 phases. The first one being the very early era, where it was a read-only era. We could only type in search terms and have information regurgitated back at us. Then we've got this phase 2, Web 2 era, which is a read and write era. Social media was really the big vehicle for that, to help us be able to be part of this information database and be able to contribute to it and publish things and create and socialize and all of that sort of thing. And now we're entering this Web3 era. So Web3 is kind of categorized by things like metaverses, cryptocurrencies. You may have heard of things like Bitcoin, which is, you know, it's a type of cryptocurrency that people are using in transactions and things like that too. It's also about decentralized data. So I'll get to that in a second, but basically it's this new era that we're facing. A lot of people would say that the mass adoption of AI is kind of the start of this as well, because AI, although that's not a new technology, its mainstream adoption is signaling a new start of how we're going to work digitally. So you could argue that, depending on who you speak to, Web3 is sort of starting with that as well. So I guess one of the big things that separates Web3 is a decentralization of data storage. So think of it this way. Currently, when we play on social media, our data is centralized in, you know, Meta HQ, Google HQ, and advertisers tap straight into that. And we don't own any of our data that we put into those spaces. In a Web3 world, effectively everything all our data becomes our own, and we opt in at any time to contribute to different spaces. So our data is all our own to have, and advertisers would essentially pay us basically for the privilege of having our eyeballs on their brand and things like that. But it also means that whatever we create, whatever communities we build, it's a decentralized system so that we own everything there. So we're not beholden to any third party, and a Web3 world would sort of cut out that middleman in all of those things that we do. So building communities, you know, conducting transactions, whatever it is that we're doing, the idea is to cut out a middleman. So there's just an A point and a B point. So that's essentially what Web3 is.
Wow, that's a great explanation. It sounds to me like it's going to be a massive overhaul of everything.
It is and it isn't, in the sense that the back end of it, so the technology behind it, is the big game changer. It's nothing that anyone has ever really seen before. It's basically Web3 apps and things like that will be built on something called blockchain technology. Now, as users, we don't really need to know about that, and that's all kind of back-end stuff. If you're a developer, yes, you will be across that. But I think for us, it's more about what it actually means for us in terms of the way we will conduct business and the way we will interact with brands and with each other is going to change, but it's an evolution on what's already happening in social media and things, for example, that we're seeing now. So it's not too far removed, but it will be different, so to speak.
Okay. And I think you're going to talk a little bit about it from a content marketing point of view.
Yes. So when you're thinking about it in the context of content marketing and things like that, with marketing, everything we do is all audience focused. So it's about understanding where audiences are, what they're doing and things like that. And the fundamental thing at the moment is, especially if you're running a service-based business and you're also promoting yourself, you would consider things, like you've got your Facebook group, for example, you might be doing paid ads on socials or things like that. That might be a little bit harder because the data is now decentralized and it'll be back with it. The ownership will rest back with users. So you have to work a little bit differently in order to get that audience data to know that you're hitting your target markets with things. So what that would look like is understanding where our audiences will be playing, what they'll be doing, and how we can tap into those conversations and be a little bit more part of those kind of interactions in order to get the best possible data to help fuel our marketing efforts, really. So taking some of the technology that will be coming and a bit more commonplace, we're looking at metaverses. So virtual worlds, really, which sounds quite far-fetched, but they're already sort of happening. And if you look at things like games, I know, Rach, you've got school-age kids as well, that Roblox is quite a big thing among school-age kids. That's a metaverse game that brands are kind of using as a tester to create activations and things like that to kind of reach audiences. So the Australian Open is one. They've got a whole Web3 metaverse department now, and they've been quietly experimenting with things like metaverse activations to reach their audience and see how they can get insights. So by tapping into the game, they might be setting up a virtual game center or a virtual stand that gamers can go in and visit and kind of interact with the brand that way. And through those conversations and that very close kind of community mindset, they've been able to get audience insights that way to be able to fuel other marketing efforts as well. So it's just, it's the principle's the same. Understand the channels of where audiences are and be able to tap into them effectively to get more insights to help drive content strategy and your content.
Wow, fascinating.
So it sounds like community is such a big part of this new iteration. So why do you think that is? Do you think that it's all a little bit about getting our data back, taking our data back?
I think so. I think a lot of it comes down to the whole principle of decentralization. So there's a lot of people, most of our business is conducted on social media, but a lot of us have a love-hate relationship with it. I know I do. Getting ad after ad and just I'm beholden to the Facebook gods and that sort of thing. But it's that. So that's what makes kind of Web3 applications and Web3 kind of decentralized social media applications so attractive, because I would love access to my own data and have it as my own and be able to know exactly where I'm putting it and directly dealing with brands and cutting out that middleman as well. So there is that kind of community mindset in that it's the attractiveness of decentralization as well. But I think people just crave a bit more connection in general. And I think we already start to see this even with the social media platforms that we're on now. Like, again, taking a look at Facebook, I don't know about you ladies, but I spend most of my time in the groups on those Facebook
me too.
places. So I'm never in my newsfeed anymore. It's all community focused, and I enjoy having more in-depth conversations with people. And I think people are craving that kind of level of connection. So being able to do that with brands is something that we will see a lot more of moving forward.
So brands are going to create groups or communities themselves, do you think?
Yeah, so it's very early days for this tech. So you've got those brands that are kind of tapping into, making a few movements in the space and testing out what that might look like. So with the Australian Open, for example, they had that kind of gaming activation. They're testing that way of reaching their audiences. They're a decentralized applications that you can tap into to build your own kind of loyalty-based programs. So I think that's where we will see a lot of brands enter the space more aggressively by creating these closed loyalty group communities and using it as using the technology for membership-based activations and things like that. So it's utilizing the tech in that way. And I mean, there are so many brands that are kind of capitalizing on it at the moment as well. I mean, Disney have just made recent moves, made a $1.5 billion US dollar investment in metaverse technology. And so there's lots of players in the space at the moment, but that's not to say that I doubt Meta's going to fizzle out and fade away. That's a business in itself. So it's just about how that's going to evolve as well. And you would have seen, I mean, Facebook got rebranded to Meta. There's, you know, Facebook's now a property of Meta, and that's indication that there is kind of more virtual things happening in that space too. So I think there'll be a few ways that brands will play around with it. I do believe that gamification will be one of those. And I think the other way is like really honing in on those loyalty programs with members and really closing those communities off and allowing, and in that way, you feel kind of it truly is based on loyalty from members because they'll opt in to share their data with you. So it is a real kind of trust exercise too. So it's beneficial to users because it improves their experience and improves their security, and beneficial for brands because they're making more authentic connections with users who are actually interested in their brand or their product and service and want to buy in.
Amazing. So how much of this do you reckon will impact freelancers?
So I think it'll kind of a couple of ways, I guess. So firstly, it's us working with big name brands and things like that, changing the way we look at how we present our content. So it might be looking at putting together, you know, we might be tapping into creating or ideating something like a metaverse setup, like what, you know, kind of crafting what the idea would look like, scripting what a virtual character might say to people in a virtual space. But then also without forgetting how those traditional channels weave into that as well, because that will still exist. Email marketing will still be huge, for example. So it's that kind of, we've got this unique opportunity to be able to understand the complete flow of a user experience. So understanding whether, you know, how a user will move between a virtual space and an email and an in-person kind of experience, and being able to understand that flow better. So our content will still be there. We'll still be required to create content. It's just going to be formatted slightly differently. And when you think about it, we had to do that anyway with the advent of social media. We had to change the way how we write things had to change. How we present things had to change. We had to understand a little bit more about video content. We had to understand more about chatbots and all of that sort of thing. So we can do it again. And this is what we're sort of entering now, this new wave of technology and how our content might fit in that space and sort of understand what that would look like. I think as creators as well, it's also going to be really beneficial for us because we're essentially able to create these closed communities of subscribers or potential clients and things like that. We're able to foster genuine connections, but we're also, whatever we create, we own all the IP associated with it, and the royalties don't have to go to a third party. It's all just straight to us, really. So as an income stream, it's extremely beneficial for us too.
Interesting.
So interesting. Sounds like there are like opportunities coming our way we may not even know of or have heard of yet. Is that what you think?
I think so. I think there's just, it opens up how you think about yourself as a business a little bit differently too. So I mean, talking about AI, for example, it's allowed you to kind of think outside the box with your service offerings as a freelancer too. So for example, I now have I haven't really advertised it, but I'm now starting to be approached as a person to humanize ChatGPT content for brands. So brands will come forward, have, you know, all of this generated copy that still needs to be refined in a brand's voice. It needs to have a human element attached to it. So my service offering, although, you know, it's kind of working with those tools, as much as I would love to create the content from scratch, it's fine. But being able to kind of just understand that technology is producing this, but you still need the expertise who understand audiences, understand how to speak to humans to kind of finesse it. So for this kind of Web3 technology, you'd be looking at, like, trying to kind of capitalize on those opportunities for the clients you work with. So say, oh yeah, I can help you with metaverse marketing, knowing that metaverse marketing is just one channel in a wider strategy, a wider marketing strategy. So, okay, cool. I'll be able to create a script for this virtual experience, but you'll still need email. You'll still need, some physical collateral with it as well. So our skills are completely transferable in that space. It's just, again, thinking about how differently our content's going to look for those spaces.
How interesting. So we did talk a little bit off air about the tools that we need in order to create content for Web3. And you've just mentioned AI. Obviously, that some writers are really embracing that and using it, taking on jobs that involve AI, and others are like, no, I don't want any part of that. Are there other tools as well that we need to be aware of and that we need to be upskilling in now?
I think there's a few sort of apps that you can explore and get your head around that are kind of early stage Web3. So that's Mira is one of them, which is a kind of publishing platform for creators that you can kind of create a community around, and tapping into that, signing up and exploring what's going on. Yes, the audiences are small at the moment because it is emerging technology, but being able to kind of experience it and experiment with it means that you can best understand the skills required, that you can go into clients and say, yes, I know that platform. I know how we can tap into this, or for yourself as well, I know how to tap into these communities. And being an early adopter puts you at that advantage of having almost a monopoly on the new audiences who will also be tapping into that. So in terms of the technology we're using, like I said, we're not developers, so we don't need to be concerned about the kind
back
of back
end.
It's more just how it looks at a front end. So, I mean, you can still access Web3 applications on the internet. So it's not so far removed that we need like whole new computers or whole new hardware and software and all of that kind of stuff. It's more just being able to, I guess, trial all of these new apps that are coming to the forefront and seeing how they work and also what their limitations are. Again, as we've been experimenting with ChatGPT, you can work out exactly where your skills are needed in that space too, because they're still incredibly important. You can't just rely on ChatGPT to produce all your content. So it's being able to work closely with the tools allows you to understand the limitations, allows you to understand the opportunities as well. So happy to share a few links to some big apps to start with as well.
That's great.
Yeah, we'd love that.
There's another app actually that I like to tell people about. It's a web browser. It's called Brave Browser. So it's a good kind of step into what a Web3 world looks like in terms of being a user in ownership of your data. So basically you sign up. It's a bit like DuckDuckGo in that there's no ads in your search, which we love. We love not having the ads, but it allows you to set up a digital wallet, and then you can actually say, okay, I don't mind seeing, say, 5 pop-up ads in an hour, and you'll actually get royalties for allowing a pop-up ad to come up. So the advertisers are directly paying you. It's nominal amounts, but it's a good understanding of how advertisers would directly reach you as a user as well. So, and I mean, as a creator, that's how it will also work. You'll have kind of instantaneous connections with audiences, and you'll have instantaneous kind of revenue streams with subscribers without having a middleman involved as well.
Wow. How's your ChatGPT skills going?
Not too bad. I mean, I'm learning a lot. I think it's very obvious when a brand comes out with ChatGPT content and has it published and out there. It does make you cry a little bit inside, but but you do. I think there are limitations to it. You can't just rely on it for value with anything. Even with the plugins that have come in that will correctly source articles or something like that. There's a whole bunch of different plugins, but even then, you still need to fact check, you still need to sub edit, and you still need to add a brand personality. Like you just can't expect audiences to relate to something that it does sound very kind of prescriptive and very clinical. You need that brand personality involved. So I feel like our jobs are always going to be relevant. It's just working with the tools rather than, that we'll be working more and more with those tools as well.
It's definitely evolving. Yeah.
It is. And it's one of those things that, you can fight it or you can seek the opportunity in it. So I'm trying to take the latter. because it is. I mean, clients get so excited about the technology and then immediately think, oh, yeah, this is fine. I'll just use this. And then they quickly realize that they can't. So
Yeah, absolutely.
So our jobs are still incredibly valuable. I think it's just understanding the tools so that you can sell where your expertise goes into finessing what's created as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd love to ask about your own business because you're obviously freelancing in different things, as you said, like, lots of slashy sort of thing and sort of a portfolio career. So how much is focused on Web3 and blockchain, or do you do some more traditional content work as well?
So I still do a lot of traditional content work. That's still the bulk of it. I think most of my Web3 work is with the agencies that I work with, mainly because we are dealing with bigger name clients than I normally deal with one-on-one. So the bigger name clients are, they have bigger budgets. They're keen to test out this different technology. They're seeing other big players do it. They want to get involved. So that's where the bulk of the Web3 stuff is at the moment, and then sort of educating smaller clients on what Web3 is and get them ready and get them thinking about the possibilities for their brand and business as well. It is early days, but again, being part of that early adoption sets you up in good stead for when it is coming, because we are, seeing evidence of it all already. So being able to come in guns blazing and say, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about and I know how to help your brand get there is the end game, really.
And are you finding your clients are usually local, or do they just come from everywhere? Because you've obviously got, a history in Dubai as well and in Sydney and, so where do they come from?
Yeah, so it's a mix. I mean, I did have more international clients once I was coming back to Sydney, and then when we moved to Perth, it's still pretty local. I'd say 70% of the clients that I have are local, but the international clients, it's such an untapped market. They're so good to tap into because you have the advantage of being in a time zone where you're working while they're sleeping, and they love that. So they love the idea of, something always happening for them, and, while they're sleeping, you're just working away, and they wake up the next morning and you've got content ready for them. Like it's so good to have those international clients. So I don't have as much now, but it's something I definitely will be tapping into a little bit more over the next year or so. Yeah.
Cool.
Because I know that you work with the Bubble Co as an agency. So is that was a couple of days a week or something, is it? Is that one of your biggest focuses, or?
So the agencies that I work with, so it's the Bubble Co and Take 3 are my two big agency clients. I work with them for roughly 10 hours a week or so, sometimes less, sometimes more. And then I fit in my other clients and my travel writing kind of around that. So I'm allowed to, I've still got kind of the routine of having some fixed hours, which is good. I find the retainer is helpful as a business. It just kind of lessens the financial stress, because honestly, I mean, especially with writing, we all know how it goes, just waiting for invoices. It's just a constant chase up, different payment terms and all of that sort of stuff. So I find that kind of model works best for me. And I think that because working with agency allows me to have a bit more kind of a fixed sort of idea of what my income stream is at least each month, and then I can kind of work around that with all my other projects.
And did you sort of actively suggest a retainer model to them, or did they come to you and say, we want to lock you in for 10 hours a week or something like that?
So they're pretty flexible. They were just kind of, I'd worked with Renee for a long time. So it is that kind of, having a really close relationship sets you up to be able to have kind of a more kind of open and easy conversations about that sort of thing as well. But I think other agency work that I'd done in the past has always been project based. So while it was still great, it was still like the project's over. Okay, what's next? And quite often, it just depends on the agency, right? It just depends on how many clients they have, and if a client goes and your services might not be required, it can be pretty volatile still. So yeah, no, it was a pretty kind of natural thing to have a conversation and say, cool, I'll be available this amount of hours each week. Are you interested in all of them or some of them? And yeah, no, that's
great.
That was good.
That's cool. And have you felt, because you locked in, you've got that retainer, that you kind of dropped the ball a bit on your marketing, or are you still really strong with, your marketing and keeping that pipeline full and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard slog with the marketing, really. I've never been really aggressive, and I've been really fortunate in that a lot of referrals have come through via word of mouth. So I haven't felt too much of a need to be aggressively marketing, but that's on my to-do list this year. I need to just put my girl pants on and just really, like, get yourself out there and seek those other opportunities too, because it's just one of those things you spend so long investing in work for paid clients that you tend to let your own channels go and fall by the wayside. And I'm very stop-start with that sort of thing. So that's my mission this year.
Yes.
It sounds
Yes.
like with all this work with Web3 and everything that you've got a real focus on future trends and what's coming. What do you see as the big trends in content coming our way for the next 5 years?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think there's AI being kind of the obvious trend that will just continue to, I think it will just continue to be a big player. And I think it's up to us to really understand the tech as best we can so that we can continue to sell our services, because they're absolutely still required and they're still of immense value. So I think that will definitely, I don't think AI is going anywhere really. Thinking about kind of content types as well, video will still continue to be quite a big player. So kind of understanding how video works. Email marketing, I think with this advent of kind of moving to a decentralized internet, email is more valuable than it's ever been. Having your own kind of mailing list and a list that you have for yourself to tap into is more important than ever to build your communities, because you never know where these big platforms are going to go and where data privacy will take you and things like that as well. So it's always so important to have email marketing in the back pocket too. And I think in terms of other content, just understanding how kind of virtual experiences will play into a wider marketing strategy, because we are still living, breathing humans. We will still have in-person experiences. We will still check our emails. We'll still do all of this stuff. There's just this added kind of layer of metaverse attached to it. And so, and a kind of demand for genuine connection. So it's kind of understanding how content plays in that space will just continue to be a point of discussion, I think. An interesting one too.
Love it. I would love to just touch a little bit on the email marketing you mentioned. We all know it's really important to kind of create your own audience and your own list. No one can take that away from you. So do you think freelancers that don't send a newsletter, perhaps because they're too busy with client work, should be doing that, like even just once a month to all their clients?
I feel very seen right now because I'm definitely in that bucket. And yes, I think you should. Yeah, I think it's just, you just never know. And it's also the volatility of platforms like social media too. Like we had seen, there was that, so a couple of years ago now, that big Facebook breach where Facebook just conked out for a good hour or so or something, and the world collapsed. We couldn't tap into our audiences or anything like that. There's no guarantee with those platforms as well. So at least with an email list, if you're not acquiring a list, you should probably start, because you will need it. And especially as data privacy plays into it as well, you can't just tap into new audiences and get, if data restrictions continue and data privacy continues to be an increasing concern, and users will start to own their own data, you have to kind of reach out to them in genuine ways and connect with them a little bit more closely outside of these platforms so that you can foster your own community when the time is right as well.
That's so interesting. I know, Lynne, you send a newsletter to your clients, don't you? Every month or not? You stopped doing that?
No, I do it very occasionally.
We all need a big slap on the wrist, don't we?
I know. We're all going to sit in the naughty corner.
Yeah. Although, to be honest, I've had so much work that I've worried. But yes, that's the thing, when you get so much work and you get quite comfortable. I mean, definitely in that
I think
situation.
What concerns me is because as a generalist, I've got so many different clients. So I wonder, how do you bring everything together and make it interesting or useful for all your clients if you're hitting them with a newsletter?
Yeah.
It's like some of my clients who are like banking clients are not going to want to know that I wrote an article for Dare on my mum's Alzheimer's. Do you know what I mean? Like it's all feels too disparate to do email marketing. That's a whole other podcast episode, of course.
Maybe you can set up a different metaverse with different industry spaces.
No, that's a thought.
Although all those brands, Rach, have one thing in common, and that's you writing it. And it's
Yeah.
about the way you approach it and the way you deal with those clients and how you bring interesting content, no matter what
That's
it
it.
is.
And I remember you saying to me once, a lot of your clients won't realize that you actually have another skill or
Yeah.
another,
Yeah,
and
that's
that can get the wheels turning. So yeah, it's something to think about.
Mm.
I mean,
Yeah,
one thing
definitely.
we do specialize in is great content. So sharing an email to all of them about content tips and then sharing the other services you deal with. You're not necessarily talking about their industries, but talking about
Yeah.
how content helps each and every one of them in
Yeah.
different industries. So
Yeah.
kind of approaching it from a technical skills perspective as
Yes.
opposed to an industry perspective might be the way to go.
Very
Mm.
good advice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm.
I'll have to put that on my to-do list. Oh my
Now,
God.
especially because it's the beginning of the year, we're always really big on upskilling, and you've lit a fire under both of us, which is great. So, what's on your must learn list for the year?
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, I always have a to-do list a mile long. I will be looking more into metaverse marketing and following that really closely because I think the conversation around that is just getting started. And I like to see what bigger brands are doing and how I can apply that small scale or at least understand it to be able to sell that into my clients. So that'll be a big thing for me. And I think also, I mean, understanding email marketing a little bit better is my skill that I need to refine and hone in on. I don't do a lot of that for clients. I do a little bit. My stuff is more long form content and social media captions and things like that too. So email marketing will be a big thing for me because I'll definitely need to get my list together and start building a community and things. So that will be on my to-do list.
Wow. Well, we've talked a lot about tools, a lot about Web3 tools, the Mirror app, the Brave browser. But what are the digital tools that you love and that you'd be lost without?
Just my computer, really. I'm not, do you know what? I'm not, for all the tech talk that we've been having, I get completely lost with kind of digital scheduling apps and task managers. I'm not a fan of that. I have a old school notebook.
Yeah.
I've got my notebook, which has my daily to-do list. I have a whiteboard, which has my bigger projects to-do list. And I have Post-it notes on any available surface.
Very lo-fi.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
It is very old school. It's very vintage of me, I feel.
I think it's good to work with the way you like to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a mixture of those.
So I was about to say I have tried those tools like Asana and all of that. I just can't get on board because it's just another tab on my screen that I don't need.
Yeah. I tried all of those tools. Like I tried Trello and Asana, and I loved both of them for different reasons. But I went back to a really simple to-do, like physical to-do list, paper diary, and then I have a kind of online to-do list called To Do, which is kind of like spelt in a French way, TU, X. And it's so cool because it's literally there's no other little screens you go into. It's just a very easy interface. I've talked about it on the podcast before, but it's very cool. And that seems to work for my brain. Yeah, I'll send you the link after this, Bec, because it's very cool and easy user faced.
Wow, this has been so brilliant, Bec. We've really learned a lot. I found it really inspiring, really thought-provoking. It's really great. Tell our listeners where they can find out more about you.
So you can mainly find me on the socials. So I'm on Bec Haddad content on Instagram. That's one of my main channels. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, and I've got a website, rebeccahaddad.com. So you can connect with me in any of those.
Fabulous. And I think that we are actually going to be seeing you in person a bit later this year, aren't we?
You sure will. The FOMO was real last year. I had a very valid reason, obviously in the throes of motherhood with a newborn, but I will be there with bells on for the summit. I can't wait.
Woohoo! Yeah. Yeah, we give you a pass on, having a baby. Yeah. This year, no excuse.
It was only a couple of weeks before, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, but I was there virtually and got so much out of it. So I'm so looking forward to seeing everyone in person and experiencing it.
And it sounds like you might be bringing a posse of Western Australian writers with you.
Yes, getting the band together.
Yeah.
How amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Thanks for demystifying Web3 for us and telling us a little bit about your fabulous career. That brings us to the end of the show this week. But if you are listening and you want to leave us a rating and review, we would love it, wouldn't we, Lynn?
We love it. We love a rating and review. It does
We still
help.
haven't read any out. Every week we promise we'll do that, and we
That's
don't.
okay.
We will
We
eventually.
will eventually.
Yeah.
And don't forget, we'll have some show notes in your podcast app, and that have links to some things that Bec has mentioned, as well as where to connect with Bec as well. So thanks.
Yes.
And we'll be back again next week.
We will. See
We
you all
will.
then.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks again to our wonderful sponsors, Rounded, easy accounting and invoicing software that helps freelancers run their business with confidence.
And don't forget, if you're a gold member of Rachel's List, you can check your welcome emails for an exclusive discount code on the annual subscription rate. You can also find it in the private Facebook Gold group, or just contact us at hello@rachelslist.com.au.